Let's welcome my guest, Jason Isaac, one of my favorites, CEO from American Energy, because we agree we like to live a high-carbon lifestyle. Hi, Jason.
Amen. Got my hat on right now. It says carbon is life, because I got to remind people that decarbonization is the opposite of life. It's dangerous, deadly, and dumb, and it's a political agenda. So, yeah, I love living a high-carbon lifestyle. Wish the rest of the world could, too.
Yeah, well, the scenario's played out over in Germany, hasn't it? Yep. They have to switch back everything now because everything just kind of crept to a halt because it didn't work for them. And this is what I think it sounds like over there. You ready? Yeah, that's what they did. And that's and that's just in their underwear. Okay, so you can't count on these alternative energy sources that they kept trying to tell us were the future and we're going to change everything. We were going to get rid of coal. We were going to get rid of gas. We were going to get rid of everything that worked and switch to this stuff. So they did it, and they fell on their knees.
Yes, they absolutely did. They had this plan that we were going to do this energy transition. It was forced through financial markets, through Wall Street. They made companies make commitments. We saw what happened with Exxon in 2021. An activist shareholder with barely a couple of shares of Exxon partnered with some other companies that people may know, BlackRock, Vanguard, and State Street, to replace board members at Exxon that they felt like weren't being too aggressive enough on climate. And they successfully replaced 3 board members with activist board members, and they immediately made these commitments that they weren't going to flare natural gas anymore, which is a byproduct of producing oil. If you don't have pipelines, you don't have storage capacity, which is very expensive. You have to flare it to get to the oil that we need right now. So now companies are paying astronomical prices to flare natural gas. They made all these dumb emissions requirements because, like the UN, they believe that emissions, man-made emissions of greenhouse gases, not pollutants, by the way, the pollutants that could affect our health in certain concentrations, but they believe those emissions are the control knob for climate. Yeah. CO2, water vapor. Give me a break. And so in order to believe that, they've got to have this premise that they need to reduce those emissions, and doing so does nothing to mitigate a changing climate. It just makes everything more expensive. Mm-hmm. And so it's no surprise that we've seen the direction we've seen over the last 2 decades because you've had this really bad information coming out of the UN.
Well, they're pumping the brakes on it because the coastlines are still there. The cities may be uninhabitable, but that's not because of global warming.
Yeah, New York's underwater.
Yeah, but there are sharks in the streets, just not the ones they were talking about. Mass extinction didn't happen, other than in Nigeria where they're killing Christians, so we're going to bomb the crap out of them. But civilization has not collapsed, other than in places where communism has taken over. So it's a governmental problem and a liberal problem. It is not a CO2 problem.
No, and civilization is not advancing in places because of this fascination with decarbonization. You look, Germany pays South Africa $800 million a year not to build out more coal-fired electric generation, so not to have more reliable electricity in South Africa. So they're keeping people in South Africa in abject poverty, and then they get these crazy carbon credits from the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, which is part of the UN, that for decades has told us, well, if we look at these different emission scenarios, and this is what they've done, is they said, okay, let's just say, let's look at this kind of trajectory that we're on now. It's had a little bit worse, a much, much worse, and then this crazy emission scenario that if there were 12 billion people on the planet, there's not. If they were all burning 5 times the amount of coal that they are today, then that's even more coal than what is physically available to mine, that we even know exists. So they assume this worst case scenario. Well, what would happen? Well, we think, and again, this is where you've got to believe that emissions affect temperature, which it's really the inverse. Temperature is increasing because of the sun, and therefore emissions are increasing. But we're also increasing man-made contributions because people are coming out of poverty, and you got to live a high-carbon lifestyle to be out of poverty. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And so they just assume that this worst-case scenario, They labeled it the baseline scenario. Business as usual was referenced in 4,500 papers between 2010 and 2020. It's almost 17,000 scientific research papers that were built on this worst case scenario that they call business as usual and a baseline scenario.
Yeah.
You had states that adopted education curriculum based on this scenario, and
all
it's
those kids
never
are
going
in
to happen.
therapy now because they think they killed a polar bear. It's just ridiculous.
Yeah, Lancet did a study of 59% of kids are very or extremely worried about climate change. These are people that have so much free time on their hands, they have to worry about things that just aren't problems at all.
Yep.
This is why kids are confused about gender, because they're getting bad information from schools, and they've got a lot of free time. They're not working on the fields, toiling, trying to raise crops so they can survive on a daily basis. They've got a lot of free time. They've got that free time because of fossil fuels.
Yeah,
got time to go to a protest? Thank fossil fuels.
They're creating telemarcos in Texas too. That's what's happening. So we have to fight this as much as we can. We've got a minute and a half left. This is a short segment, but I wanted to make sure I got you on the show. But this imminent global warming doomsday bull crap didn't happen. I know someone with a purple mohawk is yelling at the radio right now. But if people want to learn more about the American Energy Institute, where do they go, Jason?
Yeah, you can go to AmericanEnergyInstitute.com. You can find me on X at Isaac4Energy. I got several op-eds that I've just published. They'll be on our website regarding this information about the UN pulling out and pulling this worst-case scenario. Again, they forced it to be labeled as a baseline scenario. They're now saying it's implausible, it's impossible. Kids don't need to be scared. Go find something to do. Go play in the dirt. Ignore the political agendas coming from your teachers and the teachers' unions. In 6 different states had mandated that education curriculum be built on this, and teachers' unions did the same thing. They mandated that there was no debate, so teachers weren't allowed to teach anything. There could be any debate. This was settled science. It was brainwashing at the worst, and it's led to some catastrophic things. We've wasted trillions of dollars based on this particular scenario, which is impossible and implausible.
I just can't wait to see what Anthony Fauci had to do with it. Jason Isaac, CEO of American Energy Institute. Feel better, man. Hopefully I'll talk to you again. Bye-bye.
Great to talk.
Bye.